Dana Denha here, and this is Let's Watch with the Ann Arbor Film Festival. Here in Washtenaw County, we can experience the arts in so many ways. But come March, the world-renowned Ann Arbor Film Festival brings outside-of-the-box thinking to galleries and the majestic Michigan Theater, where experimental cinema and art reigns supreme. Joining me is Petra Kuppers, a VR artist bridging the gap between the abled and disabled with Planting Disabled Futures off the screen at the 64th Annual Ann Arbor Film Festival. Welcome, Petra.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Petra, tell me a little bit about yourself and how we ended up here today talking about, you're having this VR experience at the Ann Arbor Film Festival.
Yes, thank you. So I've been engaged in new media production and disability culture for a long time now. So I am really excited to be part of the Ann Arbor Film Festival, which is just one of my favorite art experiences out there, right? So it's such a cool environment. And this will be the second time I'm in it. So last time I was in there with a beautiful video that had 360 photography in it, which is quite related to what's happening now in this virtual reality thing. So it's a ritual. It's not just a virtual reality headset experience. Instead, it's like a performance. There will be access doulas. I will be there with you. People will guide people into the headset. So it should be very welcoming to people who've never had a headset on. And we will figure out with them how they can experience this world that's opening inside the headset. And the idea is, I myself, I'm a disabled artist who lives with pain. I often can't just go outside and go for a hike, right? Just, a big walk. So my small walks, which I call crib drifts, like crib as in disability, crib drifting, I go out and I might just pick up a rock or I might just be with one plant and I pay real attention. I'm really with them. I often draw them. I write with them. And in this case, I've been videoing them, sometimes with 2D videos, sometimes with 360 videos. And I have put these kinds of experiences into the virtual reality Planting Disabled Futures world. So at the center of this world is a gorgeous tree created by Danny Vincents from the Emergent Technologies Lab at the Duderstadt Center here at the University of Michigan. And in that tree are portals, and you can go into these portals and then experience many different disabled people have these intense, often one-on-one experiences with plants and what plants teach us, how they can connect us, how they can ground us in this world.
And then releases Petra, tell me about, were you born disabled and what made you want to bring, this talking about connecting with disabled people and connecting with nature and even just regular things and bringing that to the forefront? Because I do feel like a lot of times, and I have a sister that's disabled, that disabled people can feel left out.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Because of that, I do the kind of work that I do. So yes, I've been disabled from birth. I have a pain-related disability. So it hinders me from doing certain things in the world, but enables me to do other things. It enables me to have this different kind of attention. And that is true for many disabled people that I know, um, uh, whether we have cognitive differences, mobility differences, whether we identify as mad activists. Many of us have a different attention to the world, different ways of knowing. And I love articulating what these different ways of knowing are through art practice. So that's the heart of my career. That's the heart of the work that I've been doing for a really long time. I just love how many wonderful ways disabled people find to be in the world and have joy in the world. That's often quite pain-filled. That's often hard, whether we live with stigma or whether we just experience pain in our body, mind, spirits, whatever it is that might be holding us back or hindering us. We have found such strong and gorgeous ways of being creative. I mean, that's sort of the definition of an artist, right? So here's the world and the way things are supposed to be, and then we come up with other ways of doing things. So I often use new media poetics as a way of thinking about those differences.
Do you find that your work does sort of bridge that gap between people that are disabled and then giving that deeper understanding to people that aren't? Because I think if you don't deal with it on a personal level, you're not really thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that that art can be a really useful bridge because art seduces, right? You're going to see some of these lovely videos in a minute, and they're very seductive. They're gorgeous. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in that tree? Who wouldn't want to touch that beautiful curry plant or, all the different, we have many, many different portals in the tree. It's an issue of seducing us into understanding that the world doesn't end if you find yourself with a disability. Some of us have it from birth. Many, many, many more people acquire disabilities along the lifespan. So to me, it's really important that we're welcoming in disability culture to many different people and their experiences, and that we soothe people and help people understand that there is so much richness available to us, whatever our sensorium, our cognitive abilities, our mobility abilities, whatever they are.
Tell me about yourself, as an artist and how you've evolved over time. I find it so interesting nowadays that people have become VR artists, which is something that I feel like you're not learning in a school. You're teaching yourself this, right?
That's right. Yeah, no, that's a really fun way of thinking about how art changes. So I've been always interested in dance. So dance is sort of my first language. I'm a movement artist. I love moving. I'm coming to you here right now from this gorgeous dance studio at the Ragdale Foundation, which is right above Chicago. It's a beautiful artist residency, and I've had this wonderful, beautiful studio here for the last 2 weeks, working on a new video dance actually. So dance is my first language. But as I already said, pain is something that often holds me back from just dancing full out, from being right out there. I have a scooter, I've used wheelchairs, I use canes. I have all kinds of mobility devices to allow me to move through this beautiful space. But I also often work with people who are, for all kinds of reasons, not willing to be on a stage. I'm a very performative person. I'm happy to be on a stage, but many, many of my collaborators are not, because often many of us have stigmatized identities. Quite a few of the people I work with have significant mental health differences and often have medications that don't allow them to be fully in their own body. So from very early on in my career, I've been really interested in how media, what used to be called new media at the time, video, how media can help us show our beauty to the world. I've always loved making videos of people really close up, really intimate. I rarely have stuff on a stage. Sometimes I do, but if I do, then I usually ask audience members to perform with me, to do actions with me. So there's really people to stare at. It's usually you participate in it, or you look at people on videos where they can be very intimate, very beautiful. You can see the gorgeousness of all these different body, mind, spirits. So that is why I got interested in new media as a way of showing beauty in the world, a different way of showing beauty in the world. So it was video for a while, in the early days of video editing on a computer when it took like days. You'd set up a cut and then you wait, you go to the pub, you have a drink because the rendering is going to take 5 hours
Oh yeah, you're like,
for
I'm
like
working
one.
still.
Yeah, exactly. It's forever. So those days have changed. Right now I mean, most of my stuff is made on an iPhone. I don't use fancy cameras. I really just use my everyday community media stuff to create the work that I do. And it allows me to share so much of everyday life. So if I'm hanging out in one of these workshops, I don't come at you with some giant camera and make you feel very uncomfortable. I'll just come with you with my little phone going, okay, can I make a little video here? And and people find that much more approachable, much easier to deal with. And so we get to these really sweet, intimate engagements.
I love that you talk about using your phone as your camera because I agree with you. I think there is something that can be off-putting about, having that big tripod and a big camera on your face. And, your phone does so much now and it looks fantastic. Yeah, it totally. You have this little thing.
I
It's
do have a
not
tripod.
off-putting to people and it's just easier. I mean, I'm sure with your pain that you deal with, it's easier to carry around something small like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't really lug a huge thing about, So, and many of my collaborators are the same way. So I have a wonderful collaborator, Kim McDaniel, who is also an Ann Arbor Film Festival filmmaker. She had a beautiful film in last year's festival. She's a collaborator of mine, and she also shoots with very small cameras. Again, same reason, access, what can we carry, and community media have come so far, so much as possible. It's really more about your imagination than about, whether it's the crispiest, most beautiful image ever. Of course, a cool camera does make great pictures, but the
There's
most important,
advantages to both. There's advantages to both. Yes.
absolutely, but the most important thing is how we can be creative, and we can do that with very small means. And then, of course, there's VR, which has really high resource implications. But there, I've just been so lucky to work with the emergent media people at the Duderstadt. So we have a fabulous team of people who are very interested in doing experimental stuff, who are very excited about the project when I brought it to them, and who've been working with me fabulously for the last 2 years on this project.
That's amazing. Do you find that you always, obviously you're a disability activist, but do you have other activist things that you bring to your work, like other passions that you bring?
Yeah, I mean, I have a strong queer and feminist perspective, obviously. So you have to, you just grow up with that. And that's obviously deeply connected to a disability culture perspective. And the other passion that I have is environmental practices. I'm an eco-poet. I'm someone who's really interested in what it means to be on the land. We are in Ann Arbor, we are Anishinaabe land, and I'm always trying to be really aware of what the histories of the land are, who the stewards of the land have been and will be. I'm trying to be very, very clear on how humans and the landscape engage with one another. So working with the Huron River, working with all the waterways. There's a really lovely little video in the Planting Disabled Futures tree world that was shot by the Detroit River. So it's a whole bunch of people doing a hand dance by the Detroit River, and I'm reading out the names of the phytoplankton that lives in the river. That is big. That's re-emerging in the river. We all know that the Detroit River has had a really heavy toxic load, and people are working really hard to revitalize the river ecology. So the fact that there's so many phytoplankton names for me to call out in the video is a real sign of how we're remediating the world we live in, how we are finding ways of repairing the damage that has been done.
I love how, where you're at and your location is like sort of igniting passions for for this landscape here in Ann Arbor and how that can impact your art too, and have a positive impact for us who live here.
Exactly. Yes. I think, and that's a great way to think about what we do as artists, right? What responsibility do we have to the world we live in, both our local world, our community. I'm an Ipsy artist. I love living in sweet, weird Ipsy, Ypsilanti. A lot of my collaborators come from Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, and Detroit. So being aware of the incredible diversity and richness of the culture that surrounds us here is beautiful. It's a great resource we all have, and it's great for us all to touch in with that. We have so many exciting art institutions around us, art institutions that are under threat given the many different kind of cuts that are going on, the different kind of challenges that are going on, but who are managing to thrive, and that is such an important thing.
Well, let's crack into that mind of Petra Kuppers with Planting Disabled Futures.
We are hand dancing in a crypt drift by the Detroit River, flowing with the watery inhabitants. In the sun-kissed waters live phytoplanktons. In the Greek language, phyto means plant, and plankton means made to wander or drift. Join us, dear Somanote. Join the dance of the phytoplankton in the Detroit River as we stand on Anishinaabe territory, as we witness the river's long history and the ongoing reclamation from settler industrial pollution. Hello. I know you would like to touch me. Please feel free to touch me, caress me. What do I feel like under your fingertips? I am beeswax. I come from bees. Feel the insect world when you touch me. Ashwini Basi reaches up and pulls down gently on one of the twigs. We see the blackberries. She's excited, her face open, smiling. She caresses one of the branches, little green leaves over her head as she touches a branch.
We're back with Petra. What was it about? You talked a little bit about plants and nature, but what was it about plants and plants in this area that made you want to explore this tree and then go deeper into nature?
Mhm. Yeah, so there's so many different ways that I could answer that question. I do think that there's something about the temporality of plants that I find really exciting, the time signature of a plant. We're living in fast times, right? We're all reacting really quickly. We are getting fed up with one another very quickly right now in the current political scene. And there's something about the longer lifespan of a tree, the being with a tree, the slowing down, breathing next to a tree that I find very, very soothing to my nervous system, very connecting. I mean, people have connected around trees forever. People have been dancing around trees forever. So in all different cultures. So that certainly is one of the inspirations for why we are. We didn't want to create some game. We didn't want to create some super fast game, which is what so many people do in a virtual reality world. Instead, this plant elder world, plant elders could be both, plants who are elders for the world, but also humans who have knowledge about plants. In this plant elder world, it's more about being with. It's a very meditative place. It's a place of joy and delight. There's little isopods that are hanging out inside the tree, little insects, critters, two little critters. They are very cute. They're pink. The tree itself is purple and pink because I really didn't want to create any one imagination of a tree world. Like I'm German, so it would be very easy for me to think about a forest as just that kind of German fairy tale forest, right? And that's not everybody's experience of a forest. People come from all different parts of the world, and even in the US itself, we have so many different tree ecosystems. So I wanted to create a real fantastical tree. But I did use plants as an inspiration. So the very beginning of the project, before I had the emergent technology people on board with me, I just created cyanotypes, which is sun images. So you use the sunshine, actual sunshine, and actual plant materials to create an image. You expose. It's like photography with sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates that kind of blue-green, very beautiful, ethereal image. And then I used watercolors, earth pigment watercolors, to draw into these cyanotypes. So what resulted were these images, quite ethereal images of leaves and trees with pink and with blues and greens from the cyanotype, that were collaborations with plants. You know, it's not just me. I'm actually literally physically working with sunshine, plant leaves, plant pigments. And those are the images I gave to my designer to use as an inspiration for that beautiful central pink tree. So, and I just love what Danny did with that. You know, he translated this beautifully into this gorgeous tree world.
Wow, this is fascinating, this process. I had no idea. It's really fascinating to think about how it actually comes about. And I
Right.
also love this idea that, you talk about like VR's games, and that's like a lot of what people like when they have it at their house, it's
Mhm.
for gaming, right? But like this idea that VR can be so much more for you, that it's like therapy in a way. Like it's almost like physical therapy, what you're doing for people.
Exactly. And that was my first way in. I first experienced virtual reality in any real way when I had an operation a few years back. I had an operation on my torso and I had to lie flat for a really long time. And that was pretty annoying. And I got myself a headset in order to help me gain strength again. So I did, the kickboxing apps that you have
Yeah.
in the Quest 3 headsets. We're using Quest 3 headsets, so just straight consumer headsets, the ones that if people have a machine at home, it's usually a Quest,
Yeah.
or as it used to be called, Oculus, So that's what we're using, really straight consumer headsets. So that's how I got into it. I was using it as a form of PT, physical therapy. And many, many disabled people enter into VR through that. For instance, there are virtual reality applications that allow people with spinal injuries to learn how to use the limbs that they have at that point, the limbs that have mobility. There's one person in the video in the planting disabled tree world that had a trach, that has
Hmm.
a breathing tube,
Hmm.
and that person learned how to breathe with a breathing tube through a virtual reality application. So in medical environments, virtual reality is used quite a lot. So, and as again, many people with significant disabilities know virtual reality through hospitals because they have so much use of virtual reality. So it was very interesting to me to offer a different kind of therapy, something much more soothing, something much more joyful, something that allows you to go on a dream journey. So when you're in the tree, you're going on a dream journey. We're going on a journey together. You get to touch and smell and feel and hang out with trees at the level of the soil. So that's very different from therapy. It's a therapy for the world.
Yeah. What about, those people that have never done it before that show up and want to do this? You're really accommodating people in this scenario, right? You want people that have never had on a VR headset to get in there.
Absolutely. So we designed it 100% to make you not feel cyber sickness, which is a real thing. So many, many, many people, when they put on a headset, within 3 minutes, they get seasick. Basically, it's like seasickness. So the team and we created an approach that really minimizes that. So very few people experience that. So if you're worried about that, don't worry. We really try to hold against that. And when you come to us, I will be there. Some of my collaborators will be there. They act as access doulas. So poet and dancer Stephanie Height will be with there, for instance, and she will offer you the headset, help you put it on, talk you through it. She'll be sitting right next to you. She's going to ask you permission if she's allowed to touch you, and then she'll help you put your fingers on the control, and we're only using one control. Usually there's two controls.
Hmm.
So if you're an experienced gamer, you do your thing like that, right? But if you're not an experienced gamer, that you just don't know what the hell to do, right? Like, ooh, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we really try to bring the controls down to one headset. So even if you have one hand that has a hand difference, or if you have arthritis in your hands, you usually will be able to work with this one. I mean, we found that more or less anybody that we've worked with, and we've worked with nearly 1,000 people now, have found it quite accessible to them.
I have
And
been
so
your
yeah,
friend.
she'll be
I
with
have
you, I'll be
looked your
with you,
way.
and we'll just talk you through it. And if when you're ready, you just take it right off again.
You can
And
use me
it's
to make
modular. So
tea.
you just go into one of these portals. The portals last like maybe 2 minutes or
And now I'm
so.
here,
So you might just do one portal, maybe you do two
mixed with
portals,
oil paint.
and you just have an
And
experience. And
here
then
is
when you
wooden
come back
cabinet.
out, we actually offer you something to hold. We
Warmed
have a
by your
transitional object
fingers.
that you can hold. We have little
I
critters,
welcome your
plushies,
touch.
plushies.
Ooh.
It's a queer world, right? So obviously we
Yeah.
have plushies. So little plushies that you get to hold to allow you to transition back into this world. And we chat with you and, just have a little debriefing together. So it's supposed to be a really warm and connected experience. It's a ritual.
And you have big plans for this. You want this to be more than just, an occasion at the Ann Arbor Film Festival, right? You want this to be large scale for anyone, maybe at home, to be able to do it too, right?
Absolutely. Yes, we're in the process of adapting it to go into the Quest, the meta universe. So it will be available to anybody in the world, in the whole world, to download. We all know that Meta is a complicated company, right? And they just announced that they're going to withdraw some of the support for their VR world. And we're like, oh, okay. But I think we're still in there. Who knows how this is all going to shape itself out? But yes, it will be available in 2026 in this year in the actual meta world. So you can download it and then you can explore it by yourself. As a performance artist, I of course love the direct engagement. So for me, the most fun part is to just be with people as we're doing it together. I
Well,
actually
that's what
really
I was going
love
to say. So, what people should really do is come see it
they
in
should
Ann
come join
Arbor,
us.
experience it for yourself, and if you love it, then you can download it to your own headset.
Exactly. We would love that.
Before we go, why do you feel like people should support the Ann Arbor Film Festival as a filmmaker, off the screen artist, a festival goer, a patron, whatever it might be?
The Ann Arbor Film Festival is an extraordinary event. I've been going forever. I can't believe I'm in it again. Yay! I'm so happy about that. So ever since I came to Ann Arbor, I've been to the Ann Arbor Film Festival. It's one of the coolest festivals in terms of experimental film out there. You get to see all the really weird stuff that's going out in the world. It's like so different from a regular film festival. And I go to many festivals, but the Ann Arbor one has such an interesting curational politics. It has the amazing queer night. I mean, who doesn't love that queer night? It's just the best. It has this really interesting expanded cinema section that we're in right now, and that supports so many artists who are really interested in pushing the boundaries of what video and film can do. And it's just a really great experience. It's also a lovely community experience. I've always chat with people when I'm at the festival. Because, the films don't necessarily make sense. That's great. We're there because they don't always make sense. They're there because they allow us to spin off into weird and woolly worlds. And that's delightful. So I hope everybody just comes out, tries out our headset, also just goes to the cinema, enjoy community together, and talk to the artists. So many of us makers are actually there, and we love talking to people. So, we normally our films get shown without us being there, and it's so cool when someone wants to talk to us about the experiences we try to create for them. So come and chat up a filmmaker.
Well, thank you, Petra, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
To watch this and other CTN series, visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor, and remember to like, subscribe, and share. I'm Dana Denha for Let's Watch with the Ann Arbor Film Festival.